Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. Excuse me. I had a sound issue. I think I corrected it before we started. I'm sure you'll let me know if you can't hear me. Hopefully that's not the case. Okay. Right now we're running about 72 degrees. Kind of cool. It's been raining quite a bit. Of course, we're in the heart of the rainy season. El Nino's still there, but it's not breaking through the rain, at least recently. We got a high today of 77, so it's not going to get too hot. We got a low of 65. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And the peso is at 39.04 to the dollar. Let me see. Morning. Sounds great. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Whew. I was worried. And what's it look like outside? Well, considering the crappy camera, it is giving you the flavor of the amount of overcast that we've got. One thing it doesn't pick up on, you can maybe see a little bit of it, is the blue sky above those clouds. It's always a little blurrier and foggier than it is in reality. But, you know, it's a crap camera, and we'll do this instead of throwing it away. All right, let's see. First of all, congratulations, Jerry. Jerry has officially retired, and I guess he'll be headed this way sometime, maybe in the next month or so. Today we got a topic that, you know, I put it up in a couple different places, and first thing this morning, about 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning, I get somebody that's already guessing what I'm saying. Last week, I made mention of this topic today, and somebody just went ballistic and sent me comments, and I eventually ended up deleting the comments because they got pretty rude and crude, and, you know, like, you're not even on the topic, you're just kind of being personally insulting, and it's like, I don't need that crap. But I figured it was time to do this topic. I've avoided it for a long time. I researched it about 4 years ago, so this week I had to refresh myself. But we get to that later. We got other things to cover first. First of all, big news. I can tell you some of it. I've been teasing it for a month. An update on the coffee situation. The business license has been approved. We got to wait on the export license. It won't take much longer. We should be up and running in about, well, we're going to shoot for June 1st. Don't know yet, but that's what we're going to shoot for. And the tentative logo will look something like that. And what else? Business license, export license. And my partner in all of this, if you recall, about a month or so ago, I told you about this farm girl south of Cali, in Cauca. That's who's going to be working with this in my videos and all of this stuff with me. So it's pretty cool. Let's see what else we got. June 1st. Another thing, Rumble has made some new updates, and I was looking it over yesterday in between a billion other things I had to do. But it looks like soon I'll be able to switch over from YouTube to Rumble. If anybody's got a problem with that, let me know. But, you know, I'm just really frustrated with YouTube, and if I go to Rumble, I might even actually make a penny off it. So there's that too. All right, let's get to the, well, we'll do the messages here, and then we'll get to the news. Yuka, thank you for the contribution. greetings from Finland. How are you doing? Francisco, happy Sunday. How are you? Ron to the Z, thank you very much. See you Wednesday. Robert, Fort Lauderdale, 369 days. Isn't he telling me that number every week? Is that actually changing? I can't keep track. Mike, Mr. Jarvis, good morning all. Good morning to you too. Tommy Adams, greetings from Northeast Georgia. How are you doing? Mr. Sawicki, morning from Seattle. Yeah, you know all about the rain. Gil, good morning from Northern California. Whoa, it just jumped on me. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? From Northern California, less than a month till we arrive in Colombia. Pretty awesome. Renee, hello from NATO headquarters, aka Brussels. Michael, good morning. How are you doing? Eagle, good morning. Today is Easter and Christian Orthodox. Okay. Blessed Easter, peace, love to all humanity from Dallas, Texas. It's kind of a nice thought. Cliff, good morning from Louisiana. 24 days to back home in Colombia. Right about the time we do a big kickoff. Be nice to have you back. Turtle, good morning. Turtle, I apologize. You sent me a few messages. I didn't respond. A couple other people sent me some clips and messages. I've been up to here. I'm having to create a new website and make a whole bunch of server changes, and it's just been, you know. Owen, sound is good? Yes, thank you. Jesus, morning or Jesus, morning from North Dakota. I have a home in Ibagué also. Very cool. Larry, morning, sounds great. Yabe, morning from Miami. Sounds good, Lauren. Thank you. Mr. William, the good one. Good morning, folks. And I got some gorgeous pictures on my wall. Thank you, Mr. William. Mike, congratulations, Jerry. Absolutely. If you tell me what camera you have, I can get you a better one with HD. Well, it's HD. It's just a crappy camera. It's one that I used a long time ago, and rather than throw it out, I mean, this camera obviously is a good camera. It was for me pretty pricey. It was what is this one? It's an Elgato, which is very, very good quality stuff. So this one is good. I run this one. What do I run this one at? 1080 at 60. I don't run this at 4K, I don't think, because there are other places that I put this video and they only go up to 1080. So you kind of have to go at the lowest common denominator. That camera, I don't even remember what brand it is. It was kind of crap. I had a pretty good camera, the C920 that everybody has. It's lasted forever. They still sell them new after like 10 years. But the cords frayed. I couldn't get them fixed because they're very particular. They got that fine wire mesh in there, and so I got this thing, some knockoff that supposedly was good, and it was crap, which prompted me after a while, because I got so many complaints about how bad the picture was, that I got this Elgato, and I've had this thing for, I think, 3 years now, and it's been perfect. Ronald, Olaf from Circassia. Jesus, touchy subject, so thanks for addressing it for us. Oh, the topic today. Yeah, it was a nasty troll that just cussed me out, got really personal, which was all fine. I just don't leave things that get too nasty up on the comment board. You know, people don't need to read that. Yeah, it didn't break my heart because he didn't know what he's talking about. But it was a shame because he thought he knew what he was talking about. And he thought that I didn't know what I was talking about. And it was just a offhand comment last week, which I'll play that little clip of my offhand comment. Somebody asked a question and I gave an offhand comment. And apparently it set this guy off, but the information I gave was accurate. Turtle, Jerry, congrats, amigo. Eagle, who is that lady? Sabrina. So I don't know who Sabrina is. NB90, buenos dias. KO, what part of Colombia are you in? You missed the intro. I'm in Armenia, Colombia. Francisco, I retired 1 year ago. Nice. Apologies accepted. Yeah, I thought, you know, I thought he probably thinks I'm ignoring him, but Juka, serious connection problems here. Power cut. Man, I'm sorry. I got home, when was it? Yesterday. And the power was out. And then I read about it in the newspaper. It was out in a broad area from, we had a torrential downpour and it knocked a whole bunch of limbs off of trees. It broke some power lines. And we were out. And I live on the very top floor of this tall building. And of course, there's no elevator. So I start to go up the stairs, but I got an armload of stuff and I got a handful of other stuff. And I go, well, power almost never goes out. When it does, it's very short time. So I sat on the lobby couch, pulled my phone out, started answering some emails. About the time I was finishing up on the last one, power came back on, the elevator was on. So that worked out pretty good. 1080, 60. Yeah, it's the max. It's showing that's the max I can do. I can do 4K. And when I do uploads now, I do it 4K. But when I'm doing live streaming, I kind of have to do it at 1080 because of other things. Give me your good camera model and I'll get you the same one so it matches and I'll send it to you. I really appreciate that, but it's okay because the only thing I use that camera for is take a quick look outside. And if I didn't have that camera, I wouldn't be doing that anyway. I just figured, well, I got the camera, let's do that. It really isn't that important, but I definitely appreciate the thought. Sabrina the dancer. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot we called her Sabrina. Nope, it's not. Abel, good morning from Manizala, Semper Fi. Gracias por tu videos. Love them. Thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. And Semper Fi back. Always faithful. Okay. Craig, good morning, all. And I think that's the end of the comments at this point. So let's get on to some news. Remember Paul Harvey? Let's do the news. All right, this first one. Beautiful. Tourists witnessed the majestic flight and bathing. I don't know if you could see on the left side there, there's a little thing of water of an Andean condor in Concordia Valley. This caught my eye because, one, people say that they're basically extinct and they don't live around here, which isn't true. You see them occasionally. But it took me back to Ecuador. When I lived in Giron, I lived up on top of the hill overlooking this little pueblo. There's about 2,000 people in it. And I lived in this grand, it was 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. It was huge. And and there were mountains all around. And in the morning, I would go out on this patio that was up on the 2nd floor. The patio was about the size of my bedroom. It was huge. And I would go out there, and occasionally I would see this big condor. And there was no doubt it was a condor. They're very unique looking. Plus, this thing was massive. Plus, it would come around and kind of circle and fly low. And I think that was because people across the street had 15 batches of these little tiny puppies. I don't know. There were like hundreds of them running around like ants. Okay, maybe a little exaggerated, but there was a ton of them. And I think the condor was just, maybe getting a meal. And so I mentioned it, somebody somewhere, somehow, and I had some people, oh, you're crazy. There's no condor here. I said, it's Ecuador. Yeah, but you don't know what you're talking about. And so it was a day or two later, I grabbed my camera and went out there, and sure enough, there they were. And I got this photo. It was obvious it was a condor, but I also had followed by vision, followed where that condor was going, and there was a rocky cliff up on this mountain. It was like a sheer part of the mountain. I mean, you'd have to be a professional to climb up there, and you could see. I had a camera that could blow up like 200 times or something like that, and you could see there was like a little cave area there, a ledge and kind of a cave area. And that's where it was. And then a day or two after that, I noticed that there were actually several condors in that area. And so when I saw this one, it's like, I don't know, people don't want to believe they're around, but I don't know why. They are. They're definitely around. Eagle, thanks. Anonymous just tipped. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Anonymous. Francisco, congrats, Jerry. Absolutely. Libby, good morning. From Ecuador. This one is very important info if you're going to give to us. Living better. Little emoji there. Okay. Back to the news. I was asked a couple times about this and didn't know what people were talking about, and then I saw a news article. 2 men and a woman died after being attacked by bees. Now, these were 3 separate incidences over a course of about 2 weeks. And this was in Calarca. And these are Africanized bees. And apparently, they're around and growing. It's not like you're just walking down the street and getting attacked. They were, out in an area where these things congregated, and they thought they were apparently just honeybees, which are basically harmless, and they weren't. And you disturb them, and they'll get very aggressive. So that kind of sucks. Ben Lake, good morning from myself. Yeah, about 50 meters. Let's see. Next one. Get the umbrella ready and prepare for the rainy season. Pretty much already mentioned that. And are they still making honey? Well, not from Africanized bees, I don't believe. But yeah, honey's a big market here. Yeah, so the Africanized bee is not a good thing, because what I understand is they'll move in where the honeybees are and kill them off. And let's see, last news article. Big news here. Cuchillo, criminal with extensive criminal history. In this picture, you can see him in the red and black coat, and there's a woman and her 5-year-old on that motorcycle, and he came along and snatched her purse, and that was 2 months ago. This guy has been sought after for quite a period of time, and he's got a long list of various crimes and drug use, and your typical scumbag. Well, they didn't let up. The last 2 months, they've been investigating. They've been working hard to catch this guy, and they have caught him. It's kind of like the Royal Mounted Armenia Police. it was actually the national police and the military. I mentioned before that they've been working together. That's right, Mr. Ben. That's correct. They've been working together, and they've been working hard to keep Quindío clean. And this is almost broken windows. This guy hasn't been into a lot of crime recently, like within the last year, but they weren't going to let it slide. Just to give you an idea, this is the barrio. This is kind of partial picture of Armenia, and that's where the barrio is located. And that's kind of a blow up of it. It's a Santander barrio. This is one of the places that you have no reason to go. And if you take a look here, there's a street view of part of it. And here is another view. So these are stratus 1 and 2 in this area. These are the tin shacks that they'll let people put up and don't bother them. And, you know, it's like when I say don't go in these areas, you have no reason. Why would you go to this area? There's nothing there for you. And it's areas like that where the crime generally happens, actually. So that was good news. All right, let's see. Did I cover everything there? Yes, 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 and yes. So let's get to the main topic. Let's see who I can trigger today. Now, I mentioned this was something that I mentioned last week. And so I'll play you that clip of what set this guy off. But it turned out it's like, yeah, I probably should cover that topic. So here's the clip. You know anything about traumatic guns and traumatic? Whenever I go to Colombia, I buy a pocket knife and stun gun in the mall. About 30, 50,000 each. Living in New York City, I always carry something legal. I'm not sure what you mean by traumatic. You can get a permit. They have gun permits here. The word on Facebook is you can't own a gun. It's not true. You can. You have to jump through hoops, but honestly, the hoops that you'd have to jump through are no worse than when I got a pistol permit in New York State. It was a nightmare. You can definitely have a gun. That's why you have these independent security people that'll carry a pistol or a shotgun. It doesn't belong to their job. It belongs to them. I mean, some do. Some of the big companies actually provide, but they don't just hand it to them. They have to, have a permit. It's not a permit just because they're doing that job. Although that'll give them a leg up. It might even expedite it. But, yeah, you can have a gun. Okay. First, I'm going to cover the deal on are there such a thing as gun permits in Colombia? Because he told me nobody, no how, no way can have a legal gun in Colombia. And yes, you can. And so I'm going to cover that. And then after I'm done with that, I'm going to talk about the airsoft, or what they're calling traumatic guns. That was another thing. He was really triggered. You don't know anything about guns if you don't know what a traumatic gun is. Well, I've had guns since I was 8 years old, as I described. I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years, and there's not a lot I don't know about guns. And I talked to a couple friends, and Mike sent me a message. He goes, "What the hell is a traumatic gun?" And he was a gun shop owner. It's just a term I hadn't heard before. But then I understood what they're talking about. You've got airsoft that'll shoot out the little plastic balls, and then you've got you've got rubber bullets, guns designed for those, and then you've got the little pellet guns that run on the CO2 cartridges that are little lead-based pellets. I get all of those. I've owned several of those in the past just to play with. It's cheaper to target shoot with a good quality one than it is to, shoot rounds. And so I get it. I just never heard that term. What's the big deal? So let's get on with the gun. Nobody can get a permit to have a legal gun in Colombia. Absolutely not true. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I hadn't looked at the actual law on this for about 4 years, so I had to dig it back up and go look at it again. And it hasn't changed. You can still apply for a permit. Oh, that's really faded. I don't know if you can read that. Ooh. Somebody let me know if you can make that out. That would be a shame. Well, the details don't matter that much, I guess. I can give you a quick rundown of it. You can read it. All right, I'll leave it up. You apply for a permit through the military, and there's a series of things that are required for ownership. You have to have an actual income. You can't be indigent and get a permit. You have to be basically an upstanding citizen. And somebody might say, well, we can't get one. You have to be a citizen. Well, yes and no. But countries that allow legal weapons generally have certain rules around citizenship or categories working towards citizenship. U.S. is one of the most liberal about that. Even they have a few categories where you can't get you can't buy a gun legally, but almost everybody can there. But here you got to be a citizen, with an exception. I actually had to talk to a police friend of mine because I had heard something and I couldn't find it, and I needed a confirmation. And he confirmed it. He said, you won't find it because it's an arbitrary thing. If you are one of us, you know, I'm here on I've got my resident visa, for example, and I had a particular need. Generally, it'll be a business owner. So let's say I own a business and I've got concerns for safety, self-protection, things like that. You can go to the military and you do a special request. I believe that there's a form for it. We didn't get into a lot of the detail because some of it I didn't quite understand. My Spanish isn't top-notch, but you make a special request at the military. It goes in front of this approval board, and if you're an upstanding resident or whatever your category is, and you've got legitimate need and there's some urgency to it, they can do a waiver. However, chances of anybody watching this fitting into that category slim to none. I am told that if you own a farm, it's really pretty simple, but you still have these categories that you have to go through that I can't read. You can turn up resolution and see it clearly. Yeah, I can't do anything like that here, like this. So I'm glad you can. So I'll take it off the screen now. It's been up. If you need to look at it again later, you can always go back to it. Let's see if this shows up any better. What guns are permitted for civilians in Colombia? All right, I can't read this one either, but I remember pistols up to a 38 special round size. So you can have, it can be automatic, it can be a revolver, whatever, but not larger than a 38 special. Rifle, this surprised me. A rifle cannot have a caliber larger than 22 long rifle. Shotgun, no limit on it, except you can't have a barrel over 22 inches. And it kind of cracked me up because in the US, the sawed-off shotgun is a thing that you can't have. And so you measure the barrel and make sure that it's, 18 inches, I think it is. I don't remember. But it can't go below a certain Mike, I'm sure you know. What's a sawed-off? I just don't remember. It's been years. But here they don't have anything like that. It just can't be over 22 inches. So that was pretty interesting. Guns are only bought through the military organization that does this. So you don't go to a gun shop and buy it. You go to the military's place and you buy it. So there's that restriction. So they make sure every gun that's sold is recorded and is legal. Now, as far as the pepper spray is legal. However, if you use pepper spray amongst a crowd of people, even if you're using it correctly, I didn't say I agreed with all these laws. Even if you use it correctly, if you use it in a crowd of people, you can be arrested for the use of it. You can't use it for any reason in a crowd of people. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. What if that crowd is what's trying to kill you? So I'm sure there's some gray areas that you maybe could be sorted out. If it's an airsoft or a CO2 cartridge or a pump or whatever, as long as it's not a gunpowder bullet style, they're legal. And as a matter of fact, you'll see those all over the place. You can go up and get yourself an airsoft or a pellet, just about, well, they're all over the place. You go into the mall, you'll see several locations where they're selling them. These are completely legal. However, depending on what you're doing with it and how you may or may not be displaying or brandishing it, the police can make a determination arbitrarily of whether they'll confiscate it or not. So if I have, let's say, an airsoft 45 pistol on, I've got it in a shoulder holster, and I walk down to La Catorce and I pull the thing out and just kind of wave it around a little bit. If the police sees that, he could walk up and confiscate that. And he's perfectly within the law in doing that. So I guess they just don't want any childish or carelessness use of these things. And if you do have one and you're carrying it where it's visible and a cop sees it, he could come up just to make sure that is that a real gun? Do you have a permit for that gun? That is doable. Now, it's not that it's unheard of people walking around with guns, because you will see people occasionally walk around with guns. And I had a Colombian lawyer write to me just before this started, and he was saying, I hope you're not promoting getting guns. No, I'm just talking about the situation. What do I care if people get a gun or not? I could care less. But he says, I hope you're not doing that, because we don't want people to have guns in Colombia. Well, I don't know who this we is. The mouse in your pie. I mean, you don't speak for all. And second of all, there's absolute truth in an old saw about if guns are illegal, only criminals will have them. Well, that kind of applies in Colombia. And one of the main reasons to get a permit in Colombia, one of the main acceptable reasons, is for self-protection. The Colombian government recognizes that. Now, Colombia is not a gun culture as we know it. Here, because of the history going back in World War II and beyond, the 10 years of La Violencia, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that have died in civil war over the last century, you're going to have, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want any part of that. And you've got a lot of the culture that does that. I tried to find the stats on the permits that are out there, and I couldn't find anything specific. I read a couple, I would say almost anecdotal, that it's only between 500,000 and 1 million people that have active legal gun permits. Well, you got a country of about 60 million. So it's not a huge amount of people. However, you have a ton of illegal guns in certain areas. That Cauca region, probably the most dangerous in Colombia. The second most dangerous, the ELN along the Venezuelan border. And then probably the third most is Guajira, Chaco, along the coast where you've got the Mexican Golfo cartel that kind of digging in roots. So, and that's kind of the story. If you were to go up and ask 10 Colombians, are they interested in a gun? Unless they're going to get a job in security or something, they're really not interested. And I did check on this. I made mention, I believe, last week that the security people, most of them own their own guns, and only in some cases do the security companies provide them. And I checked on that, and that is basically true. There's some large national security companies that have a pretty good budget, and they can provide. But I talked to one of the guards here in my building, and he keeps a 45 underneath no, not a 45. I think it's a 9. I think it's a 9mm. Or maybe it's a 32. I don't know. I didn't even ask him. But he keeps it underneath the... You got a shelf and another shelf, and it's long. He keeps it in between. And I asked him about it, and he said it was his own gun. That when he got the job for security, it was required that he have one. And so he went through the process, got the permitting and all of that. And those security people, in order to have that job, must get a permit. So every security person you see that carries a gun is legally permitted. So the idea that you can't get them is just kind of crazy. All right, let's go back and see. Let's see, where was I? Traumatic is a rubber bullet gun. They're legal. Yep. I think that was back when I was going over it. Kiwi, BBs. Yeah, that would include a BB gun. Although a BB gun, I don't know. We used to play with those things. Like, we would play tag with them. We would shoot each other with BB guns. And, sometimes it would hurt like hell, and you wouldn't want to, shoot somebody's eye. We were stupid. We were, little and did dumb things like that. I can read it. Yep, you can read it. Good. A person cannot help but wonder how the Colombian authorities would treat a gringo if a gringo needed to use the weapon in self-defense. Well, if I think it pretty much as I described it. It's not in the regulations, but if you call a police chief of wherever you are, and if you have a good enough reason, he made it sound like you'd almost have to be you could be a visa holder, but you'd almost have to be a property or business owner for them to even contemplate. But there are waivers available. They do have the ability in a particular department to determine if it's critical enough, if you needed it. What's critical enough? Maybe you got robbed a couple times and you got threatened. I don't know. That I just don't know. But it was interesting to know that there is some discretion there. Mike, yep, 18 inches, anything less than a felony. I thought that's what it was. Couldn't remember. There's some handguns and 45 long Colt caliber that will shoot a 410 gauge. Gotcha. That would be interesting. Oh, there's also limits on something else I should mention. You could probably read it. I couldn't read it, but it's 5 or 6 bullets to a magazine, unless it's a 22, and then you can have 10. And the other thing is, the bullets are monitored and sold by the military as well. And I think might not get this right, but it was something like you can get 100 bullets a year if you're in one category, and then up to 300, depending. I don't remember exactly what it was. If you could read it, great. I'm just mentioning it. You can go back and take a look at it. But what I'm trying to basically point out is that bullets are monitored, and there are limits or quotas on it. Let's see. Tommy, that's very strange for a shotgun. Turkey hunting shotguns, for the most part, considered short. Most commonly used length, the F-18 is the shortest. Yeah, any kind of bird gun generally has a longer barrel. I will say hunting is one of the legitimate reasons in order to get a permit also. So I get your point. I guess you're just going to have to be better. It's easier to be accurate with a longer barrel shotgun. For me, the concern is home invasion. 5 guys with guns break in, hold you hostage, and drain your bank account. If 5 guys break in, it's going to happen anyway. Illegal guns, yeah. Taco, let's see, on the street, I always carry a false wallet with cash and dead cards for the street thugs. Here when I travel, I'm very careful about what I carry, how I carry it. But in Armenia, I don't worry about it. Some people might think that's stupid, but I know the place well. I'm at home here. We essentially don't even have crime in the north part of Armenia. Isn't it true if you own livestock land that automatically makes you eligible for gun ownership as long as it stays on the property? No, you still have to be permitted. The gun has to be bought through the military, and you have to have a permit in order to buy the gun. If you don't do that, the gun is illegal. But land ownership, farmers, ranchers, that's definitely one of the categories. They have quite a few categories. It's not very limiting on who can apply for a permit as far as that goes. You can come up with almost any reason, and it would fit one of those categories. Taco, non-firearm. Is it easy to buy and carry in your vehicle? For instance, a crossbow. I can't tell you about a crossbow. I don't know. That's a good question, but I really don't know. I didn't read anything about it, and never occurred to me to even look it up. I just think it would be kind of cumbersome. Although there are some now. I saw one where there's something that looks kind of like a shotgun, and it's got a cartridge of bolts. So you've got your crossbow bolts, and the thing's pretty wicked. It shoots pretty far. So I don't know. I don't know where it would stand with that. I don't know that there's any rule on that, because something like that's really brand new on the market. Crossbows work great for self-defense if you can't legally own a gun. There are 6 bow semi-automatic loading crossbow pit. I think that's what I was trying to. Probably should read these comments before I talk, right? Rob, so are you saying that size matters in Colombia? In the USA, I have a nice 45 SIG, 308, FAL, AK-47, 12 gauge, 9 millimeter. I used to have a bunch. After I was sick, I started selling things off, and the last things I sold off, I had a 38 revolver and a 45 automatic. Let's see, Rob. So they say, yes, but you're eligible for that, is what I mean. Farmers and livestock can more easily get the permit. Uh, I would be tempted to say more easily, but in reading it, they have to go through the same thing everybody does. But I get your point. And I've caught myself from saying that for this video because I don't want to say something that's not actually accurate. In reading the law, I believe that everybody equally you have to come up with this and this and this and this and this. And if you meet that criteria and you have a reason, which there's like 8 different things for a reason, then you'll get your permit. But having a farm and a reason, if you have a security job and a reason, if you have a bank account, they like to follow their rules. And I think if you just go down through that list and if you meet that criteria, you're in. Now, I can't because I'm here on a resident visa and I'm not eligible for my citizenship for another 4-something years. And even then, when you go to get your citizenship, it's not like 10 days like the visa is. It could be up to a year for them to make that decision. Of course, if you make it easy for them, if you do everything that you're supposed to and stay out of trouble, I understand it goes a heck of a lot faster. They have crossbow pistols. I have one. It's a mini crossbow. Yes, they have crossbow cartridge that holds 6 bolts. It's much smaller, can fit in a backpack. Very cool. Okay, let's see. I think I covered everything. Because if at a checkpoint or have interaction with police, I'm not a citizen, but I have a crossbow in my vehicle. Would that be an issue? As I said, it's something I just really don't know. I have no idea. That would probably be a question for, there's military everywhere. Like we've got a couple bases right here in Armenia. If it were me and I was interested in that, I would probably go right to them and ask them, or ask my chief of homicide buddy here in Armenia and ask him, see what they have to say. Because they're the ones that would be pulling you over and checking anyway. Does it make sense? I don't know. The thing is, I don't go in places that are dangerous, first of all. I don't like bureaucracy, and you have to jump through the hoops. You also have to renew that permit every few years. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. The cost isn't bad. I think it's something around, I think it's $500,000, like $125. You pay to get it, but you do have to get it renewed. So there's another expense every 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is. I don't know. I love guns. Like I said, had them my whole life. But I don't honestly feel I have any need here for it. If I did anything, I might get myself one of those little pistol mace with the mace cartridges. I lived in a dangerous part of Durham, North Carolina for a while, and I decided rather than carry a gun, which I could do, but I had reasons not to, I got one of those little mace things, and I actually had to use it once, and it worked great. It was very successful. It would shoot off about 30 feet. It came in this cartridge, it came with a green dye. So you hit somebody with it, they're not going to go wash that off anytime soon. It's going to stay there. And it dropped this guy to his knees like in a heartbeat. That's something that you can legally have here. The thing with the gun is, one, it's best just not to be in those situations, but you never know. But when you get a gun, it can really complicate your life. And it's getting this way in a lot of states in the U.S. too. It can complicate your life with never-ending issues after the fact. So if there's another way around, like I don't go out at night. Especially when I'm traveling. When I'm traveling, I travel with people these days. I don't go into sketchy areas. If I'm in a place that I don't know, the first thing I do is find out the lay of the land, what's sketchy. As a matter of fact, living here, if I'm going to travel somewhere, I find out before I go. I don't know. I'm comfortable with that. It doesn't mean you have to be. Let's see, what else? Are there good bilingual attorneys around Armenia? I wouldn't count for bilingual. Do I know any here? No, don't know any. There could be. I've talked to a couple of attorneys here, but they speak Spanish. The thing that I've noticed is kind of no matter what profession, if you look for somebody who speaks English, chances are you're going to get an inferior person in that profession. And I won't go into all the details of why I believe that, but I believe that's the case in most cases. And if you get somebody who's Spanish speaking, but that's been their profession for any period of time, you're probably going to get a little better expertise. I think people that are marketing the English aspect are generally the ones that fall into, I'm just going to try to get more money. And it doesn't necessarily speak to their competency. I've seen plenty out of Medellin that speak English and screw people up as far as things like visas or sale of a house and things like that. And they're only getting hired because they speak English instead of looking for somebody with the best qualifications. The thing is, if you don't speak Spanish, there's two things you can do. One, translators work great these days. 5 years ago, it was really problematic. These days, they're very accurate. And two, how hard is it to hire somebody, for $50,000 or even less to go with you for an hour to translate for you? And before you go, you can get across to them everything that you need to get across. So when you go in there, there's not a lot of back and forth. They can kind of sit down and kind of lay it out what you're trying to do. That's what I would recommend. I'd like to schedule a consultation via Zoom and pick their brains on different laws. Open-ended like that. I honestly, I don't know any that would fit that category. My hope is to own farmland, a few cows and chickens, etc. CO2 powered pepper balls, CO2 powered weapons are illegal in Colombia. No, they're not. I just went over that. They are legal. I know they have a paintball clubs in Colombia, but I'm pretty sure they need permits too. No, they don't. Just went over that. You must have tuned in late because you're saying a lot of things I've already covered. Mike, stick to the local professionals and struggle through the Spanish. Thank you, Mike. Mike has found out firsthand, but he's smart enough. This goes back to the, you talk about triggering. Is there such a thing as gringo pricing? And I did that video and it's like, no, there isn't. But there is such a thing as price gouging. And the people that are going to price gouge you will gouge somebody from Colombia as well. It's like, stop being the martyr. It's not because you're from the United States. But if you're from the United States and you're wide-eyed and look like you're stupid and don't know anything, of course they're going to try. But if you're coming from Bogota and you're wide-eyed and you don't know your way around Armenia, they're going to try there too. It's equal opportunity price gouging. So, man, people went berserk over that. And the people that went the most berserk are the ones that never watched what I had to say about it. But Mike ran into at least one that I know of that simply because he could speak English, he thought he could run his prices up double or more. For me, there is a dentist here, somebody different, Mike. There's a dentist here that I was told, why don't you promote him on your videos? He speaks English. So I sent a WhatsApp with a hypothetical, what would you charge for XYZ? And the price was skyrocketed beyond what everybody else would charge for XYZ, because I checked first. You know, it's like ridiculous. So, you know, if you want to call it gringo pricing, well, if you're stupid enough to just agree and pay it, maybe you feel that way. But the truth is, check your prices, know your prices, make friends with somebody. If you think you can't find out on your own, but WhatsApp's a beautiful thing. You know, they don't see you, and you can send a question to somebody and get a good response using the translator. And if you walked in the door, maybe they try to up it, but you've already got that price from them. So, yeah. Yeah, learn Spanish, hire a translator. Yeah, I used to have to use translator for everything. And, well, if you go back to when I first came to South America about 9 years ago, translator was horrendous. No matter what I would type out, it would just come out all kinds of bizarre, and people weren't understanding. And then it got to the point where they were understanding, but it was off enough to where sometimes it would offend people. You know, it was kind of a mess. But we've gotten to the point in the last 3 or 4 years that the Google Translate works really well. Let's see. All you need is a Colombian friend to help you in order to own a farm or any property. Lawyers have no idea about those things. Yeah, well, it's kind of true. However, if you are from the United States and you're going to pay for it with money from the United States, you will have to have a lawyer. But it's not just any lawyer. It's a particular lawyer has the ability, he legally is licensed to do those funds transfers. Don't waste your time trying to get a gun here in Colombia. We're not in the USA. I miss my 357 Magnum. I heard muzzle energy, also my 9mm. To be a gun owner, have in business is a clue. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. You know, if your life's goal is to live in a place and retire in a place where you can have whatever gun you want and go out and shoot it whenever you want, there's not many places in the world where that will work out for you. It's just how it is. I'm proud of being an American, but damn. Let's see. I agree that getting a firearm in Colombia can get you into situations you regret for a long time. Instead, a bulletproof vest. Yeah. Well, it won't help your head very much. But most people aren't good. They're going to shoot center mass anyway. Sheriff, I'm in a condo with security on the 10th floor. Okay, less worried about home invasion, but on a finca or something in Manizales. How many home invasions do you think happened in Manizales? On a farm in Manizales? I mean, I can't say it never happens, but I follow the news, and you almost never see that. And the news organizations love to print those things. You know, they like those headlines. But being a gringo on a finca doesn't make a damn bit of difference depending on where you are. This is in Ecuador. Ecuador is a whole different ball game. You are actually a target there. They look for you. It's something different here. And another part of that is by sight. For most people, you can't. They don't even distinguish. Now, Medelline's different. I want to get into the long conversation, but here in this area in the Coffee Triangle, uh, you look like you could be Colombian until you open your mouth. Turtle, new smartphones with AI are superior translators. I bet they are. Let's see. I didn't know how much a gringo detriment in rural areas exist. The detriment, the detriment isn't that. There's a whole series of issues about why you wouldn't want to have a farm in Colombia until you've been here long enough to understand all the implications of it. And then when you completely understand, then make your decision. Doesn't mean you can't have a farm, doesn't mean you shouldn't, but there are a lot of implications to it, and you really need to understand it because it is a different culture. And if I went to the USA and I got a farm, there's no real implications to it. It's you just go get a farm, you live on the farm. That's it. It's going to be different here. So everything that's if you haven't lived here, you can't picture the things that could pop up in 3 months and in 6 months and a year that may want you to decide that maybe it's not the best of ideas. And there's a whole range of reasons for that. Again, I've actually talked about it in the past. Please be careful in fincas. You're right. Good luck. Well, again, it depends on where you are. I wouldn't have a problem here at all. They don't even occur around here in Condillo. I was looking at the crime stats. I think it was last week because recently the crime stats came out for this last year from the year prior. And if you remember last week, I was talking about all these 30% down, 50% down, all of that. Well, away from the video, I had read through those stats. Home invasion is a stat. Home invasions that occur here are in the cities, not on the farms, and they're few and far between. They're basically just burglaries, home invasion. They're just burglaries here. And they're higher in Montenegro than they are in most everywhere else. And the rural incidences of it, I actually didn't see a one. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't any ever. You can't really say that, but it didn't make it into the stats. Let's see. You should do a show on that again. I'll donate $55 at the show. I'll donate 111 if you do a show on small permaculture farm or land ownership, etc. Implications, details wherein. Thing is, maybe I could take you up on it. If there's enough interest in it, I would do a show on it anyway. I try not to do videos that people aren't really going to be interested in because it's a lot of work. And like I said, YouTube isn't going to pay me. So why would I want to get up and do a video if nobody's really watching it or getting any value out of it? On the other hand, I do get quite a few people asking about farms, which is why I've talked about it in the past. It is kind of a nuanced, complicated situation. And there's reasons why it would be a mistake to just get a farm. But in the next couple weeks, the farm girl who knows farm will be here, and she doesn't speak any English, but maybe we can do a video, maybe even just a video topic where I could do subtitles or something and not live, and talk about farm ownership. Now in her case, she's selling that farm because she kind of has to, but she plans on taking that money and buying a farm here in Condillo. Let's see. No Second Amendment exists in Colombia. Law says only Colombian natural citizens can gun apply, but subject for psychiatric evaluation. Yeah, I pretty much covered all that and put the chart up. The psychiatric, it's the medical psychiatric that is the addition. There's nothing to it. There should be more to it. You also have to take a gun course. If you go back, you look, it's all listed there. It's not that bad. And no, it doesn't say natural citizen. You're saying natural citizen. In other words, you have to be born here. That's not true. Any citizen, not natural citizen. So if I were to become a citizen, I am eligible for a permit. So let's be careful with the fake news there. And like I said, there are other possibilities, but I'm sure they're few and far between, and you'd have to have a pretty damn good reason. Safety here is like anywhere in the world. Location. Yeah, location, timing, exactly. Anyone interested in that show? Type 1. I want food, water, shelter, independence. Mike Jarvis 1. Okay. I'm serious. Tommy 1. James 1. Well, that's pretty good response in just in a minute. So, all right, I'll tell you what. I won't do it until she gets here because she's a good source. She's owned firsthand. I have a good friend who also owns the farm. It's the one that I told you guys was for sale because she's behind on her taxes. And that actually, I may be able to put those two together, and that might be the farm she's gonna buy. Rob 2. So Rob isn't interested, but he wants to see Sabrina. Okay. We'll hold on to Sabrina right now. Hold on to her. Hold on. Yeah, I had to go at least as far as that little leg hop. All right. I will put together a comprehensive video on farm. I don't know if it will be live. Like I said, she doesn't speak any English, and so you wouldn't be able to ask her questions directly anyway. And we only speak Spanish, but that doesn't mean it's not awkward and cumbersome. And, I don't want people to have to painfully work through where I don't understand a word and we have to kind of go back and forth once in a while. On a daily basis, it's actually, we do pretty good. But I'll put together on a farm. I'll cover as much information as I can, but mostly surrounding the topic of why I don't recommend you come here and buy a farm for a period of time. And I mean a period of time like maybe a couple years. And so, yeah, I'll do that. Chicas. Maybe you could go to some lands for sale, film some footage and stream it on that show. If I had a car, yes. You can't get to the farms without a car, so that could be problematic. Like you do for condo prices, those videos, doing for fincas in the area. The fincas in the area don't really put up on the internet. With the condos, I can just pull pictures off the internet or places that I can easily go to and take pictures. A lot of those were pictures, from me. But if we're talking about a farm, for example, my friend's farm that's near Kimbaya, even though as a crow flies, it's about a 20 minutes, driving in a car, it's about an hour and a half to get there. And there absolutely are no buses. The closest bus that will go there is about a 4-mile walk from where that farm is. And I don't have a car. So how do I go do that? And that's not that unusual. You don't often have farms, like in the US, you'll see a lot of farms where the house is actually by the main road. And then the farm's kind of behind it. Here, the farms tend to be kind of off, out there. They're out there. They're secluded. Not entirely, but it's generally the case. Also, here in Condillo, farms, they don't come up for sale very often. It's pretty rare. Haciendas, yes. The nice places, the Richie Rich, that's gorgeous. They're almost like mansions, and they'll have some land and swimming pools and all that. But actual working farms that have a 3-bedroom block house and that kind of thing, and they don't come up for sale very often. They're also pretty pricey as compared to, you know, what you could get for a condo or other things. Farmland, it can be pretty pricey. Let's see. Okay, I understand now. Gotcha. But your $111 from Philip should cover the car rental to check out the farms. Well, it would have to be an SUV. So that's going to run me up, by the time it's all said and done, under the way they're doing things now, that would take most of, you'd probably leave me with about $20-25. I was going to wait a year or so, buy a finca and land, develop it into a farm. Not buy an already existing farm. Well, you need to come and spend some time here. You need to come spend some time here and see what's going on, because things are different here. You know, for example, I bring it up all the time. They don't have apartment buildings here. They're not apartment buildings. They're condos, privately owned. You're not going to find an apartment building. In the US, it's apartment buildings, apartment complexes. They don't have that here. So things that you're picturing in your mind isn't how it is here. And that's one of the reasons you need to wait a period of time so that you understand all of that. There's an old book, 5 Acres and Independence. Check it out. He wants land. Hoping to be there September. Awesome. You know, we'll talk in the meantime. I will do that video. I'll put together enough information to give you some homework of maybe a checklist or to-do list, and also satisfy other people who are curious about it. Thank you guys from USA for your comments. I feel like I'm with Army friends. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of Marine Corps, but yeah. Facebook groups, fincas for sale listings. We'll show you the market, pick your area you're interested in. Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. And that's how I know there's not much around here. I've actually done that. When she was saying, well, when she buys that farm, she wants to buy here. The fact that I actually know somebody that $400 million is a hell of a price for what is there. And there's few and far between in Condillo. Now, open to Manizales. I know a gringo's got a farm there. I've been trying to go over to Manizales to see him because he's in and out of the country. He's got a pretty good size operation, but farmland, it's not the easiest thing to get your hands on. Doesn't mean you can't. Open a Manizales Ibagué. Oh, let's Ibagué. Do we really have to talk about places I don't like? Well, I shouldn't say I don't like it. I would never live there, though. James, stay in the safest area in Colombia. Well, Pereira is, but Ibagué is almost. Okay, I think we're done for the day. And when I get off, I'll get a whole list of messages. Well, hopefully I didn't trigger people like last week over the gringo pricing. You know, if you're here that messages me without actually watching a video about what I'm going to talk about, don't message me until you've watched it. You know, I read those comments and it was brutal. And they were all coming out of Medellin. As a matter of fact, 2 Facebook groups, and they were brutal comments. And one after another kept saying, well, I'm not going to watch his video because he doesn't know what he's talking about, and I'm not going to support a channel where he's going to get rich off of YouTube by me watching a stupid video that's bad information. Well, I don't get money out of YouTube, and I don't do stupid information, and you didn't watch it, so how the hell do you know? You know, I know nothing about them aside from elevation, climate, Google Maps. Gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering why you were saying certain things. It's like, what? Armenia area, Manizales are your best bet. That's true. I'm fully triggered and disgruntled. Curb your enthusiasm. Okay. All right, we're going to end it here. So I'll start working on that video. I'll have it out in a few weeks. And taco here in Manizales is a little cooler. In Pereira, it's warm. I think Pereira is hot in general, with lots of swimming pools. Armenia, better weather. Armenia North is definitely better weather than Pereira. Ibagué is kind of a hellhole. As a matter of fact, the guy was down, he's lived in Ibagué for a number of years. He's married to a local, but he was down here last week checking places out that potentially could live because he's sick and tired of how hot it is there. You know, and I tell people this, the only reason I tell it is maybe you want to know. In Pereira, I lived there for almost a year and it sucked, but I didn't have any choice. I had a job at the time, and so I'm working that job, but on my weekends I'd come out here. Your show is top notch for Colombia expat channels. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm in South Florida. It's 90 today. Okay. We're way over time. I'll see you guys later. Look for this coffee thing. I can't tell you how excited I am about it. Can't wait to get it rolling. And ciao.
Oh.